Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Divorce Coaching Podcast with myself, Tom Nash, Mr. Divorce Coach. Faye's not here today, but we do have another very interesting guest, someone that I've known for probably about a year or two now, that we've known through the family law networks and circuits. Today we have James Evans. He is the professional liaison for our Family Wizard. Really, really interesting, unique tool for parents, co-parenting. I recommend it highly to a lot of my clients, as James well knows, because I'm always asking him questions. So I thought we'd have him on today so he can answer some of those questions and give you, the audience, a bit of an insight into what our Family Wizard is. So over to you, James, to introduce yourself, say hello, and give us a little bit of insight into our Family Wizard and what it is.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks so much for having me on the podcast. Absolute pleasure to be here, and for all your support over those couple of years. So yes, for those of you who don't know our Family Wizard, we are a co-parenting communication app. We offer a space for parents to communicate through during, before, or after the divorce and separation process. So it has a series of features that are built specifically for co-parents going through this process that are there tailored to promote more amicable, healthy communication in co-parents. And we can drill down into some of those features, I'm sure, throughout the course of the conversation. And it was very much built with those parents in mind. The program started out in Minneapolis in America in 2001. So it's been going for 20 years, and it's absolutely massive in America. And we built a UK version about five and a half years ago. And in that time, our Family Wizard has now been ordered by courts in every city of the UK. We're referred to every day, in some case, somewhere in the country. So we are starting to be a bit more of a sort of household name amongst the family law community. And we've had the pleasure of working alongside fantastic people like yourself, Tom, and other family law practitioners all around the country who provide our Family Wizard as a resource for the parents that they work with. So that's a sort of a drop in the ocean of what we do.
Cool. Okay. So you kind of touched it there, but so who is the app targeted for? Is it for the individual parents of the children?
Yeah, absolutely. So it has two parent accounts, parent A, parent B. We then got a child account, so you can add children into the family if they're old enough and the parents think it's appropriate. And then what are called third-party accounts, so grandparents, dog walkers, babysitters. If they're involved in the childcare in some capacity, they can have involvement as well. But it really is built for parents going through the process of separation in some capacity. I mean, of course, we do have families who use it who aren't necessarily going through that process. We have families who use it with their pets for organization, and there's nothing stopping them from doing that. But of course, it was built specifically for families going through that difficult time, particularly those who are struggling with their communication, who have got really complicated or busy lives, and they need it to balance their organization and tailor the focus of their communication and arrangements back onto the child, taking away from some of the more difficult or acrimonious situations.
Yeah. So is it fair to say, would it be useful for all types of co-parenting or even parallel parenting? Because that's a parallel parenting and co-parenting and things like that. And I suppose even counter-parenting is another one, the opposite end of the spectrum. Could it be utilised in all of these scenarios?
It certainly could, yeah. And we've seen our Family Wizard being utilised in lots of different ways, It is built with these two parent accounts where they can have full control, but everything is recorded and accountable. So every time they do anything on our Family Wizard, it's recorded, so we know who's done what on what date at what time. So no matter what that parent situation is, because everything is accountable, it puts an emphasis on those parents to think about their communication. And actually, no matter their situation, whether it's co-parenting, or it's parallel parenting, everything is universal within the app. It's all stored in one place. So it doesn't necessarily matter who's using it in that situation, as long as they are using it appropriately and putting the focus back on the child. So yes, we're here to help families who are going through any situation. We sort of are useful, particularly for families in high conflict, if the communication is particularly difficult, but it is there for low conflict parents as well, and who are, those particularly who are very busy. I was a teacher for a number of years before I did this, and I know how busy the children's lives can get with, dance lessons and play rehearsals and after school clubs and all this stuff. And I know how complicated and how much organization goes into that. And we can really help with that aspect of co-parenting as well.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I love about it, and when I've recommended it with parents that I'm working with, whether I'm working with both parties or just mum or dad, sure, is that my perception of it is that it also helps to kind of centralize their communication and help lessen some of the emotive triggers of like their WhatsApp pinging in the evening or like constant emails back and forth. And I think that was the thing for me that really stood out, to kind of streamline their process for communication so that they can, I'm talking real world terms here for clients and also from years gone by, before me and my ex-wife became very good friends again, that you don't necessarily want your WhatsApp or your text message or email pinging off in the corner on your phone in an evening and thinking, is it them? Is there something going wrong? Is there another argument, or is it something that they're saying no to, or whatever it might be, when actually it might just be your friend or your or a colleague that's messaging you. But when you hear the ping go, you're like, oh my God, is it them?
Yeah, your heart skips a beat. And you've hit the nail on the head. And that's really what some of the situations we're trying to alleviate, you know, and especially nowadays where we live in a world with so much digital online communication. You know, you've mentioned WhatsApp, text, email. There is so much: Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. There are so many methods for parents to communicate. And, you know, one, that can be overwhelming with the variety of different options. And two, you know, things can get lost if someone messages on WhatsApp in 1 week and they respond later via email, and that can be confusing for both parties. And it's also very easy to manipulate modern communication as well. You know, with modern tech and security, it'll blow your mind just how simple it is to actually falsify those communication records. And it sounds like I'm using complicated technical terminology, but honestly, if you go onto Google and you just Google fake WhatsApp, there are thousands of websites where you can make it look like someone sent you a WhatsApp that they never did, and you can do that with pretty much anything. So, you know, our family was in safeguards against that type of communication. And as you says, it centralizes that communication. So no longer do they need to send a message with 4 different action items of, can you pay me? What's happening with swimming lessons? When are we doing this? You have features built for each of those needs and requirements so that they don't need to send that long-winded message. The message is, we have a message board, but that is there just for those situations when messaging is needed.
I love that. And no, you're absolutely right. It can get lost in translation, can't it? Like you say, if you've got one conversation starts on WhatsApp, then the reply comes on an email, and then you're on the train, so you can't get access, so you do it through Messenger. And I can completely.
And you forget, you forget. Oh, yes, I replied to that already, but I replied on email. I didn't reply via WhatsApp. It can be really confusing for all of us, you know, going through any situations in our lives. So hopefully we can help, you know, specifically for co-parents with that level of communication.
Because I've witnessed that with clients before, where maybe financial matters in the process of the divorce are on email.
Sure.
But child matters they keep on WhatsApp or text message, and actually they then kind of don't stay intertwined, they don't stay centralized, as we've kind of said already.
That's right. And what we see is, if a parent is messaging another at one point about anything to do with the child, they'll have the tendency of, whilst they're writing this message, I've remembered that, I need to pick up school shoes next Tuesday. Whilst I'm writing this email about finances, I'll drop it whilst I remember it, rather than putting it on WhatsApp or whatever they agreed they were going to use for that aspect of their communication. So yes, no, we help alleviate those concerns by putting everything in one place and having tools specifically tailored to those needs.
Cool. So you've already kind of piqued my interest about the functionality.
Yes.
So it's not just another messaging tool. There's so much more to it. Before we get to the other functionalities, because I do want to hear all about the other functionalities I don't even know about. But one of the things that I do love about the messaging side is there's like a tone barometer.
Yeah, that's right. It's called Tonemeter. Yeah.
Tonemeter. Thank you. I was going to say Tonemeter. I was like, no, I'm going to get it wrong. Say tone barometer.
No, you got it right. Tonemeter. Yeah. So when the parents are sending each other messages on the message board within the app, first of all, the main difference there is, you know, it's fully accountable and recorded. So it'll say who sent the message, on what date, at what time, who first read it. And unlike your emails and your WhatsApps and your texts, those timestamps can't be changed. So parents cannot decide or choose to edit or delete or update the times and when things had happened. That is always there. And yes, when they're writing, it's got what's called Tonemeter. So we describe Tonemeter as like a spell check for your emotions. So if one parent is writing a message to the other on our message board, it will alert to that parent as they're writing the message of any language they've used that might be considered offensive or inflammatory. So, you know, let's say, for example, they were typing a message and it flagged up a sentence and said, you know, Tonemeter has said this sentence could be read as aggressive by the recipient parent. Now, the recipient parent does not get a notification saying you've received an aggressive message. It doesn't alert them that Tonemeter was used. But it doesn't stop the parent from sending the message as it already is, and it doesn't offer them an alternative phrase to change it into something else. What it does is it gives them an opportunity to think about what they've said, consider that language before then choosing whether or not to send it. You know, back in the day before we had digital instant communication, something would happen and a parent would have time to sleep on it or speak to a family member or a friend before confronting the other person. Now, we are all guilty of being keyboard warriors. You know, something happens and we tweet it or we text a friend before we even give ourselves time to digest that information. So Tonemeter is a digital version of that filter, if that makes sense. And I think you've used it with your clients before. Is that right?
I have indeed. Yeah. It is, again, when it comes to a lot of people that will say that a situation is high conflict, and it's not for me to say whether it is or it isn't at the moment. Great bit of marketing there for people that are watching it on YouTube. I saw the Family Wizard mug for you on podcast people.
Well, yeah. And this mug has come from my colleagues in America as well. So you can see it's the biggest mug.
So it's a huge
mug. An American-sized mug.
That is an American.
Yeah, that's my subtle branding there. So.
No, that you're right. The Tonemeter, the bit that I love about it is it's not autocorrect. It's not going to say don't send this or you can't send this.
That's right.
But the bit that I love, it's that pause. It creates an opportunity. I think the word that you used was perfectly described. Creates an opportunity for the sender to pause, and rather than react, they can choose to respond and go, that keyboard warrior, that rah 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 moment, they can go, actually, maybe that's not the best way to say this.
Exactly.
And a different angle.
100%. And we are all, regardless of our situation now, so used to communicating through things like WhatsApp and text and email that we often misread the tone of a message because you don't know what they actually meant when they typed something. And it's really hard to gauge that just by reading something on a screen. So Tonemeter really does go that extra step. It's really clever. It works as an algorithm. So it basically does a calculation of the words in that sentence in order and includes grammar to define whether it could be considered, you know, sarcastic or offensive or derogatory or upsetting. It is extremely intelligent technology and it's trademarked to our Family Wizard, and we have seen it help a lot of families over the years.
That is awesome, especially for those immediate situations when like I say, that reaction or response and in that emotion is kicking in. Cool. So what about the other functionality? Because you were saying about where things get lost in translation, and whilst you might be sending a message, you could use a Tonemeter to say little Timmy's forgotten his football boots for practice tomorrow. But you're also going to then want to say, oh, by the way, you owe me 50 quid for such and such.
Exactly. Yeah, perfect. So that's the type of message that we use in as an example template of how we can help in those situations. So the first of those is obviously the message board. We've got a shared calendar. Shared calendar, which is extremely dense. It's color coded. Parents can put in parenting schedules. They can put in one-time events. They can do what are called time swaps. So they can actually swap the allocation of the time spent with the child, all done within the app. So they don't need to message each other and say, what time am I picking up Timmy for football on Tuesday? They can go into the calendar, and if it's not there, they can send an event request, or if it is there, but it's wrong, or they need to update it, they can send a time swap request. Those are permanently recorded, and they can only be edited or deleted by the parent who creates them. So essentially, parents cannot go in and then manipulate each other's calendars. They can't change things that someone else has made. But if they do go in and put something into the calendar and then edit or delete it, both parents will be notified, and that will be recorded. So again, it puts the emphasis on, you know, do the calendar the right way, put the communication first, the child first, because you can't, you know, do one up on the other parent by manipulating the calendar. And it's extremely dense. There are loads of different options, and it's there permanently recorded for the parents. They then have an info bank where they can store information about the family. That's things like school reports, medication, details about the family, you know, the height of the child, their weight, their shoe size. If they're doing to go and buy new football boots, you can just log in and see what size of the child's shoes. That's in the app. They don't need to message or call each other. Then they have a journal. In the journal, they can upload pictures, they can upload videos, they can upload voice notes, and that is all recorded again and time-stamped. And it's not social media, so they can't post it publicly. It's up to the parent who posts, who can see and who cannot see that post, and they can't like or comment or share. So it doesn't open a direct communication chain. It just sort of shares these moments. And they can also geotag their location, so they can actually check in and say, I was in this place at this time. So if there's an argument of, you know, oh, they were an hour early, they were an hour late, you can now log in and actually geotag your location and say, look, here I was in this place at this time. They then have an expense log where they can track reimbursements made towards the child. So if you've gone and paid 50 quid for Timmy's new football boots and you've agreed that that's a 50% split, you can go onto our Family Wizard, you can log that expense and request it from the other parent. That's the parent side. And then there is also a practitioner side. So family law practitioners can have free accounts where they can overview their parent activity and create court admissible reports. So if they are going to court for any reason or they need to make evidence of the communication, there's a functionality to do that within our Family Wizard, all for free as well. So that's a very, very much whistle-stop tour of
See, that's the bit, because you've said a word a few times now where you stated about things being recorded, timestamps, geotags now, etc. Because I was going to ask you, so what was the purpose for that? You've already kind of alluded, obviously, family practitioners, your family lawyer, your family law representative, etc. So they can actually extract this data, should they need to, from a legal perspective, to present in the family courts?
That's exactly right. Yeah, so every feature within our Family Wizard has a recording function, and parents and practitioners can access that. And that's a way to turn the information in our Family Wizard into court admissible documentation. So let's say hypothetically, there's for some reason parents are going to court and there's a big argument about holidays. You could go into the message board, you could search the word holidays into the message board. You could then make a report of every message to do with holidays into one court-ready document. You can do the same in the calendar and all the other features. So it saves everyone time sifting through, all the various different places. It's all in one place. It makes those documents for them, and that's at no cost. So it just saves everyone a sort of quite significant step if it needs to get to, providing evidence of the communication. So that's one element of why everything is recorded and timestamped. The other element is accountability. It's really there to focus the parents on their communication. If they know that there is never going to be a query of, oh, I sent that message on this time. Oh, no, actually, no, I didn't send that message. That was on my email. That's never going to be a query. That's never going to be a problem because everything is recorded. So there's no opportunity to ponder that. It puts the emphasis on, this is what's happened. This is the way you need to focus your communication. Over the 20 years we've been going, we've seen that help families significantly with their communication in co-parenting situations.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think the fact that, like you say, the accountability piece and that taking on the own responsibility of knowing that equally for both of you is recorded, etc. Again, it's that moment of pause to stop and think and make a different and potentially better decision than you otherwise would do on other forms. Cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, because obviously we're talking now about, let's say, we might be listening to the family law audience here, or maybe even to the parents. Can the usage of our Family Wizard be court appointed? I know it can be in the States. Can it be in the UK?
It can, yeah, absolutely. So we have what's called a draft order language, which is taken from a Section 7 order that was written for us by His Honour Judge Martin Darcy, who's responsible for writing up the Children Act update. And he's basically written us a one-page template on how our Family Wizard can be ordered. Now, you're right, often judiciary can formally directly order this in an order in court, and we have lots of examples of that. Other times, practitioners like yourself, Tom, will ask parents to sign it as a more sort of informal agreement on how they're going to communicate. And that's obviously totally your choice. And the template gives you lots of opportunities to get specific where you need to. So if it's really important, for example, hypothetically, for one parent to make a record of every payment, you could stipulate to that. So, and you could say something along the lines of, when the parent A makes a payment towards the child, they will record it in our Family Wizard. That kind of thing. I mean, you will always know these parents better than us. So that's why it's a template where you can make it specific where you need to. But yes, the courts can order it, family law practitioners can implement it, and we have that language. So you can find it on our website, or you can email me and I can send you that too.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this has come up several times. I imagine this is the number one FAQ that you get all the time.
Yeah.
What happens if one parent wants to use it and the other one doesn't?
Yeah, you know what, and you're right, I do get asked that question a lot, and we really understand that, and we try to be completely sympathetic to every situation, because no two sets of co-parents are going through the same process. Everyone is different, and we have to try and help in whatever situation we can. A lot of the times, if one parent is pushing against using our Family Wizard, it's because they know they can no longer get away with their old tricks, and that's the honest truth. It's because our family wizard is fully accountable. They can no longer have any kind of digital upper hand on that other parent. So that's often why it's pushed back. So in those situations, the first thing we recommend is the order language, what we've just been discussing. If it's possible in some capacity, try and get some sort of agreement in place. The language we have provided stipulates that both parties subscribe within 10 days of the agreement. So that's one way of really saying, nailing on, this is how you're going to communicate going forward. If that's not an option, if there isn't a way to get some sort of agreement and order in place, we have what is called solo mode. Now, in solo mode, let's say, hypothetically, you are working with parent A. Parent A is very keen for our family wizard. Parent B is less keen. Parent A can go onto ourfamilywizard.co.uk. They can sign up. They can put in both parents' information, the child, the grandparents, anyone involved. They can fill in the calendar, the info bank, the journal. They can start populating our family wizard with all the information that's necessary. And then every time that other parent messages them and says, what's happening for football on Tuesday, they can respond by sending them a link to our family wizard saying, it's here. This is what you click on. This is how you can see that information. And only once they subscribe can they then join that account and see the information. And that can go for as long as they like. The subscriptions are annual. So if one parent subscribes on their own solo mode, that other parent has a whole year to find the time to join at that point.
So it's about constantly re-inviting them then.
That's it. And we have seen that implemented by family law practitioners where they will say to their clients, if the other parent messages you and says what's happening for football on Tuesday, they respond every time by simply saying, it's on our family wizard, here's the link, sign up here, you'll see the information. And after a few weeks of that, 9 times out of 10, what we've seen is that other parent will subscribe and join. And because the other parent has made the effort of filling in the information with the calendar and everything like that, it saves them some time as well. So that's the other option we have in that situation. Of course, that there is a mountain of information available on our website for parents. So if they're not sure about our family wizard, whether they don't, they're technophobes or they're not quite sure about whether it's right for them, do go and have a look on our website. We have written tutorials, video tutorials, regional resources. We have a 24/7 customer support team as well, who you can give a call to that's free, and they'll answer any of your questions. So the help is there for the parents too.
Cool. No, I like I like that. And actually, I suppose it's again that re-invitation, and at least the other parent, that let's say parent B, that didn't want to be involved. Yes. Eventually, I suppose it will become to a point where they're like, well, if actually all the information's there, I might as well just go and use it.
That's right.
And then I suppose at that point they can also then see the benefits of that centralizing or that streamlining, as we said before, of keeping everything in one place and making their own lives easier as well.
Definitely, yeah, and that's why our subscriptions are annual. Is a question I also get asked quite a lot. Is why do we have an annual?
That was my next question.
There we go. Why is it annual subscription? It's a question we get asked a lot, and we are constantly evaluating this. We do feedback with our users. We ask them for feedback, but the feedback we have continued to get over the years is annual is preferred. One, people like knowing that if they are paying, and some parents pay for our family wizard, some don't. If they are paying, they pay once at the start of the year, and that's it. They don't need to worry about, oh, I've used this feature a bit more. Do I have to pay more for this? Or I need to download some records. So no, they pay once at the start of the year. That's it. They don't need to worry about money. So that's one reason why annual subscription is preferred. The other reason is, I touched on it before, you have a year to get your head around our family wizard. We don't, it's new technology, and we are aware that it can be very, very daunting for people to try and get their heads around a new app. There's so much going on already. It's another challenge for them to get their heads around. The first thing is we've built a user-friendly program that helps with that. But secondly, if you sign up to our family wizard, you download the app, you get going, and you think, gosh, this is a lot. I don't know if I'm going to get my head around all of this within the next couple of days. That's fine. You've got a year. If you get your head around our family, if it takes you a week, 2 weeks to finally get your head around it, you've then got over 11 months still to go of benefiting from the program. So those are the reasons we've done the annual subscription, but we are always looking at that for feedback. So please feel free to pass that on.
Yeah, cool. Okay, all right. You also do, for the family lawyers and family law practitioners out there who are listening, maybe not watching, you also do quite a lot of talks, don't you?
Yes. I do, yeah, absolutely. So my role as a professional liaison for our family wizard is to educate family law practitioners in how we work, how we can be helpful to your clients and your situations. So I'm at conferences, and if there's any family lawyers listening, you'll see me at most family law conferences around the year, doing talks, doing training, having a little stand, giving out some information. And we also do training presentations. These are available for free to any family law practitioner. I can do them over Zoom. I can do them sort of in person now that we're allowed to do that kind of thing again. You know, it's very much a traveling role for me. So I'm happy to come to your office, give you some information, outline how it works, set you up with your account. First account is free for family law practitioners as well, to kind of see how it works for your first client as well.
Yeah, cool. And then for the parents, there's a whole host of information on the website. I know there's video tutorials as well, I believe.
That's it, yeah. On our website, we have a section called a knowledge center for the parents, and that has video tutorials, tips and tricks. I'd say the tips and tricks is just such a helpful section of the website. If you're using our family wizard and you come to a feature or a certain aspect of the program, you think, I have no idea how to use this, we have a written guide on how to do everything in our family wizard, and that's what that tips and tricks section is there, as well as regional resources as well, where you'll find practitioners that we work with across the country, and yeah, video tutorials. There's loads of help on our website.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, no, I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic having you here. I always love having the chat with you, James, and I'm always learning something new about our family wizard every time I talk to you as well, and I always think about another situation it could be useful for, and it just seems quite extensive in terms of the amount of people it could help. I know for myself, a lot of clients who have been apprehensive and have said, oh, well, that's another cost. It's hardly expensive for a year to utilize. And one of the things that I've always kind of then put back to my clients and those parents is to say, well, what would you be prepared to invest in terms of reducing the anxieties and all the rest of it, and that emotion connected to your communication with your co-parent? And fundamentally, most people would would be happy to invest a lot, and this isn't a lot, and there's a huge amount of functionality in there, which I absolutely love. There was actually one thing that sprung to mind whilst we've been talking about is how could we lobby Parliament to make this mandatory for all separating parents?
I've been doing this for 3 and a bit years, and that's the question I ask myself most days. We are working our way towards speaking to the higher powers that be. Yeah. It's difficult to have it enforced in that capacity because there is a subscription fee for our family wizard. For those listening who don't know, it's £79 per parent per year. Unless parents are on any sort of low income or benefits or welfare, they get it for free. We've got a form on our website you can fill out, and it's free. And we also have lots of relationships with organizations where they've got a sort of affiliate programs where they get it reduced. But that's sort of the standard subscription rate there. We've worked with the DWP, the MOJ. We do training for judiciary, including the High Courts and Sir Andrew. So we are in and amongst that part of that conversation, and I would love to see in the next few years, as our family wizard continues to grow in the UK, I would love to see us being more sort of recognised by the powers above. But for now, we are trying to help. That is our main goal here, trying to help families and children, and we'll do that working with anyone and everyone. We have no exclusivity to any type of parent, any type of professional, no matter what their financial or social situation is. If our family wizard is going to help that family, we want to help them regardless. So for now, we are trying to spread the word amongst the family law community as much as we can. And hopefully in a few years, people like the MOJ and the powers above will start to notice and see, actually, we're making such a substantial difference. There is bigger work that we can do. So fingers crossed we'll get there one day, but we wouldn't be where we are today without the support of people like you, Tom. And it's really about building those relationships and networks. So we've got a lot to thank you for. And as well, it's so useful for me and our family wizard to hear from people like you, Tom, because you give us such vital feedback, and feedback is such a crucial part of what we do, because you, as the user and using it with your clients, you'll be the one on the front line that actually knows which feature is working, which feature needs updating. That for us is crucial. And you've always been so honest and open with us about that. So for that, we're extremely, extremely grateful. And hopefully that will continue with you and everyone else that we work with.
No, absolutely. Well, look, James, thank you so much for being here. Loads of information. Please, anybody that's listening, family law practitioners, do get in contact with James, get him to come and do a talk and a presentation with you about how it can assist your clients. Or indeed, if you are a parent or parents listening to this, jump on the website, go and get the app. I can't recommend it highly enough. If you are in a high conflict situation, a low conflict situation, no conflict situation, and you just want to improve your well-being through the co-parenting sphere for both you, your partner, and ultimately your children, this is a fantastic resource. If you've ever set up Facebook or Instagram, it's no different to setting up any other app. It's really, really user-friendly. Can't recommend it highly enough. So thanks again, James, for joining us today. It's a pleasure. So the website, just for everyone to go to for those.
Yes, so just make sure we go to the UK website. So it's ourfamilywizard.co.uk. And for family law practitioners, you can email me. It's jevans@ourfamilywizard.co.uk. And you can find our customer support information on our website as well, which is free to call anytime. Thank you so much for having me, Tom. It's been an absolute pleasure. As always, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, James. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.